Good morning, YouTube. It is 2:44 a.m., and this is my first attempt at creating a vlog. Well, my vlog is titled The Right Center. I am a centrist, politically. I believe that Republicans and Democrats, socialists and capitalists, and all ends of the political spectrum have great ideas to put on the table. Now, it's rummaging through those ideas and picking out the ones that are actually good is what I'm here to talk about. The Right Center is a vlog that I started because I believe that it's important for people to understand certain things about the world that the media does a very poor job of explaining, or they put a spin on it that really doesn't make a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you blogs of my thoughts that you can digest and accept or reject or comment or argue with as much as you want. But ultimately, the goal of this project is to shine light on the situations in the United States today. So, a little bit about me. My name is Gabe. I live in Washington State. That is the one on the West Coast, not DC. I live near the state capitol, so I've always had an interest in politics as far back as I can remember, at least until when I started becoming interested in politics. Anyway, my mom works for the state, so I talk a lot with my mother about politics, and I try to talk to my dad about politics, but that can be a mixed blessing sometimes, since we are pretty much on opposite ends of the spectrum in many ways. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior. I believe that He died and rose the third day. I'm also gay. I like men. What can I say? How do I reconcile these? Well, I still haven't. But my religion does not define me, neither does my sexuality. I will let my actions speak. The principles I live by are the ones that I read in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, primarily. Not to say that the letters in the Old Testament doesn't have its relevance, but in this case, do unto others, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, and souls, and all of those good things are what I live my life by. I screw up, I make mistakes, but to err is human. So, a little more about me. I have a Bachelor of Arts from the Evergreen State College, one of the most liberal schools in the United States, with a national reputation for producing activists and extremists of the liberal variety or the environmental variety. But I found my engagement there very stimulating. I love to argue, and so I argued constantly with the people I went to school with, including getting into a shouting match once with a lesbian, which was very interesting. Fun times. I took classes on philosophy, I took classes on political science and history, I took classes on culture and language. Not that I actually was able to learn any language, but I did try. I took a two-quarter class about social movements, which was very enlightening. But again, I did not see eye to eye with a lot of the people, but it was one of my favorite classes because we had a wide variety of participants and not just this big agreement orgy, which I hate. I hate agreement orgies. If you want an agreement orgy, yeah, wrong page for you. You're not going to get that from me. I believe everyone has a unique point of view to the world, and if you cannot express that unique point of view, then we're not going to have much to talk about. If you like if you like learning and you like understanding the world around you, this is the vlog for you. I will shed some light on things that I have learned from doing my own work. I've done my parents' taxes, I fix computers for a living on the side, I work at Target as a food person, I play WoW, I read news like a drug addict. I love the Rachel Maddow show. That's my guilty admission. I don't watch Fox News anymore because I find their discussions somewhat moot. And sorry, Fox News, but until you can until you can have people talk and not argue over each other for the whole 6 minute segment of each section of a show, I'll start watching again. But until you do, yeah, not happening. I love the Rachel Maddow show because I love to argue with her, and not that I've actually gotten to argue with her personally, but I would definitely relish the day that that would maybe happen. I want to thank my friend Ron Atru in, I believe he lives in Indiana now, or Illinois, I can't remember which state exactly. But he was the one that turned me on to her, and so credit goes to him for the love of Rachel Maddow, for sure. Um, Rachel Maddow is one of those people that, again, would love to argue with her across a table. I think that we could make some very good stimulating arguments. And you know what? I think, I really do feel she needs an opposing point of view on her show once in a while. I don't think she gives that very often, and I really do think that finding some kind of civil opposing view would be beneficial instead of just, every time she talks about monetary policy, calling Barney Frank, or every time um, you have you have an issue of labor, calling the head of the SEIU, or have some variety on your viewpoints and start some arguments, albeit keep them civil and keep them organized so they don't end up like Fox News. Um, but anyway, more about myself. Sorry, I digressed. I love politics. I love economics. I love debate. I love arguing. I love teaching. I wanted to be a teacher originally, and that didn't pan out really because, to be quite honest, there was a particular instructor at Evergreen that I really didn't like, and he really got on my nerves. One thing you will never hear me talk about is critical race theory, and this is the only time you'll hear me talk about it, is because I don't agree with it. I think it is a little short-sighted, and I think it's displaced. Critical race theory, for those that don't know, is the concept or idea that whites enjoy the privilege they have, if you believe whites have privilege at all, because of the oppression that their ancestors caused in the past. While there may be some minor merit to this argument, I do not agree with it, because I don't believe that any white person nowadays should feel any guilt about the injustices of the past. You cannot blame a modern man that is white for the sins of slavery from the Civil War. It's just not practical, it's not fair, and it's not representative of the current culture today. Do we have extremists that think like that? Yeah. The blacks have the people who believe in reparations. Whites have the KKK and other white separatist or white supremacist groups that do not reflect mainstream America nowadays. And that's another thing I can't stand. I do not like extremists. I am not an extremist myself. I believe in being diplomatic and tactful. I will not. I will not bow to an extremist view. And if you do ever catch me bowing to an extremist view, call me on it, because it's not something I like to see happen to myself. Extremism breeds hate, and it closes the door to negotiation and compromise and finding solutions together. And that is a theme you will find from me. Is I am a very large fan of finding mutually beneficial conclusions, the greater good, the whole can't we all just get along mentality is very strong with me. What else about me is relevant? I'm a center-leaning right political thinker. I have liberal views on social policy, such as issues of abortion, issues of gay rights, issues of culture. So things like understanding that a culture does not. We cannot judge a culture by our own cultural values. We have to judge that culture by their own cultural values. And what does that mean exactly? Well, that means we don't look inward on a country like the English did when they were colonizing the world in the 1800s. We don't look at a country inward and say what you're doing is wrong because we're right, or because we think a certain way you have to do it this way. No. A culture exists to when a culture exists, it views the world as best it can under its own circumstances, and to look in on a culture and judge it by our own values is inherently immoral. Instead of doing that, we need to seek to understand the culture, and by understanding the culture, we can properly judge it by its own values. Not that we should judge people per se, but you get what I'm saying. To evaluate values of culture. Abortion, I am pro-choice. However, I personally would never recommend an abortion to anyone if possible. I am of the opinion that the greatest love is giving your life for another, which is actually a biblical principle. However, being the pragmatist I am, I will not push that view in a political context. So, and that's another thing I will not support. Pushing political policy using a religious justification is not acceptable in my view. That is equivalent to violating the anti-establishment clause. Not everyone thinks in a religious context. Sorry, there's a mosquito in my face. And as a result, many people get hurt when a particular religious ideology is pushed on them in the form of law. It's been done in the past. It's being done nowadays in many countries, or at least a few. Anyway, I can think of at least two. And for the United States to embrace such a policy is unacceptable to me as well. We do not pray to God and go to war. That is wrong. We go to war for justifiable, verifiable reasons. Now, does that mean I'm judging George W. Bush for the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War? No. Why? Because I do not have enough information on either conflict to take a point of view on those issues. They're the ones with the top secret clearance. I am not. I do not have access to the documents they read. They do. They are my elected officials, and, as probably as foolish as this is going to sound, I will trust their judgment, because I have no other choice. I can either be a conspiracy theorist and say they want us to go to war to feed the weapon companies, or the firms that build weapons for us, but again, I have no proof, therefore I will not make that claim. Or the latter. However, when we are pushing social policy, such as gay rights or abortion, and we use religion to justify our position, that inherently makes that position invalid. Anyway, yes, I am pro-choice. However, I have severe reservations about it, and I believe that the industry needs to be regulated more fiercely. I think that a woman who is seeking an abortion should be told of every conceivable option, with abortion being offered as the last resort. Abortion is not birth control. Abortion is not there to provide a means of getting out of your responsibility as a parent. It is there for the purposes of ensuring your health and welfare. If you need an abortion because you are going to die, if you have a child, I completely understand. Nobody likes to die. I mean, it's just common sense. But anyway, so as a progressive conservative, like I am, I will protect and defend a woman's right to choose. But I would like a little bit more regulation on the industry to ensure that they are delivering the proper information to a woman, that she is fully informed of the life growing within her. And that's all I have on that issue. With gay rights, I favor a second institution that is legally equivalent to marriage. So a domestic partnership, civil unions, whatever you want to call it, because I do believe that marriage is the union of a man and a woman, and that's what our society believes a marriage is as well. There are many who argue with me on this point, and many believe I'm just arguing semantics, but no. This is my olive branch to people who believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and the reason I offer this olive branch is because I seek to find an equitable solution